talk about the last 3 episodes of Resident Evil. On Wednesday, we had seen episode 1 through 5. There's 8 total. But we did not see it getting better. I mean, I kind of shit all over it and said this show sucks. It's boring, which it was. I didn't see it improving in those last 3 episodes. I'm going to give you not a play-by-play, but give you a good idea of what happened in these last 3 episodes and tell you if it was any better. So, let's jump right into Resident Evil, the Netflix show. Ending explained, I guess. Like I said, leading up to the last 3 episodes, we weren't feeling it. Wasn't into it. It was boring. Performances were all over the place. They were whatever, to bad. The effects, good. Show looked good. There's money on the screen. Story sucked. Like, nothing was fucking happening. First episode, some things happen, they set up, and then nothing happens for the rest of the fucking episodes, really. So we jump into episode 6, and right off the fucking bat, stuff starts to happen. And I'm like, God damn it. Really? I sat here and had to say how this show's boring and absolutely nothing's happening, and I don't see that changing. Very next episode, shit starts to happen.
Eric Kripke, the guy who created the Boys, the TV series,
and
he made
Supernatural.
Supernatural. He made a comment last week about how people are creating to make a 10-hour TV series show instead of an actual TV series. So they add all the good shit to the very end of these episodes. So you're watching all the boring shit till you get to the end. He's like, that's not how you fucking do this stuff. No. You create each episode and you actually put great shit into each episode, and that's why your TV show works. Well, Resident Evil, take notes.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And that is exactly what happened here. 8 episodes, the first 5. The first one, I'll give them the first one, okay? I'll give them the first one. It wasn't great, but it was setting stuff up. We're getting to know people. Fine. That one, I was like, what exactly is going on here? But stuff was happening. It was setting things up. But after that one, episode 2 through 5 were just nothing. Boring as fuck.
Yep.
So then we get to the last 3, and all of a sudden, things do start to happen. It is much more interesting. But it's really not until episodes 7 and 8 when shit really pops off. Things do start to ramp up in episode 6. So basically, after everything I told you guys about the story last week, where the story was, which was pretty much fuck all nowhere, we pick up, and Jade, our main character, in the future, she got captured by her sister in Umbrella. Her sister lets her go, but then we find out, it's all bullshit. But she makes it back to this thing called the Institute. That's where she's been trying to get to. We find out that the Institute is actually this big tanker ship that just floats around. So that's kind of like the fucking movies were. That's where Salvation was in the Resident Evil movies that everybody hates. But she gets there. That's where the remnants of humanity are, the resistance, if you will, against Umbrella. She brings that head from the zombie that could talk to other zombies, and that whole episode is pretty much them trying to figure out how this one zombie controlled the other ones, and they find out it's through pheromones. They're able to, her blood has something to do with it, of course, like it does, blah, 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 blah. We find out that this pheromone, you can spray it on yourself, and it's like the zombies don't see you. She goes out to the water, brings a zombie on board without anybody knowing, sprays herself with this pheromone, and it doesn't see her. But then her kid comes in, and it breaks loose, of course. It goes through, it kills this pregnant woman who she was working with, and the husband's like, oh no. Umbrella shows up right around that time because our main character just did some shit that's really despicable and we fucking hate, so they need something to distract us from that. They land on this island right next to the ship. So the ship's there, and they start parlaying, having these talks about, what is it you want? They say, we want her, and she decides to give herself up so that they can get out of there. Also on this ship, and we'll get to it in a minute, you see it's dragging something behind it underwater. You can't see what it is, you just see these big, huge ropes going into the water. It's dragging something really large behind it. And she keeps telling them, hey, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to do this, and you guys get the fuck out of here and hit the button. They keep talking about hit the button, hit the button, hit the button. We'll find out what the button is in a minute. I've been more interested in the future stuff, even though nothing was really happening then either. But the past stuff was just them in high school and shit, and I was just really finding it insufferable. In the past now, they kind of give up on the high school shit, and we find out more about Albert Wesker. We find out that Wesker is a clone. And we go back to 2004 and we see, I think it was four total Weskers. We get OG Wesker, we got the Albert Wesker we've known in the show so far, and then his two brothers. More on them in a minute. That's more or less episode 6. They're trying to figure out this pheromone. They figure it out. But they also have, the pheromone like goes both ways. They have one that makes you invisible to them, which she has on her, and then they have one that will like draw them in with a vengeance. So you got like an on-off switch for these zombies. Basically what happens, Albert Wesker, original Wesker, made clones to try and work on some stuff. Umbrella caught him and said, hey, you're not supposed to be working on this stuff. 2 of the clones are killed. He runs off. We get a passing thing saying he was killed in a fucking volcano, which I think that's from Resident Evil 5. They do. They just say it like, they're like, oh yeah, because like
he punched too many boulders.
It goes to the future and he says, oh, original Albert Wesker, yeah, he died in a volcano. But anyway, moving on, you're like, what? You're just gonna what? You're gonna leave it there? He died in a fucking volcano. So then we have 2 Wesker clones left. We have clone we've been following that we didn't know was a clone, but his brother, he finds his clone brother. Bert. Bert's a little off. He's kind of crazy. He's like kind of childlike, not childlike, just innocent, if you will, and he's been held captive for the past 25 years or whatever in this installation. He wants to help his brother. Wesker gets caught by Umbrella because they're like, you know, you've been doing whatever, nothing's really whatever. He gets caught. Bert breaks out and goes and gets the girls and stuff happens, and he's, like I said, I liked this character of Bert. Honestly, Lance Reddick having a good time. I mean, you usually see Lance Reddick being very serious and stoic and all that. Even when he's being funny, he's still being that very precise and concise character. Here, he was just acting almost borderline mentally retarded, but like just kind of like, hey, bro. He's calling people bro and stuff like that. I really enjoyed the character of Bert, and he did grow on me. Pretty much all the characters that Lance Reddick played, I enjoyed. I loved in this show. Those 2 characters played by the same person were the characters that I attached to the most in the show. But then shit happens. The outbreak begins. Billy, who we thought was cured, isn't really. It just moves really slow through her. Apparently her and her sister created, because to keep the clones going, they have to have this special cure that is actually their blood. So that's why he created them, but he does love them. He cares about them. They're mad at him. That's why he's always taking their blood and injecting himself with it, blah, blah, blah. The boy, the love interest boy, he gets bitten by Billy. The mom comes in and shoots him in the fucking head. I will say I wasn't expecting that. You do get the idea that the mother, the big executive at Umbrella, cares for her kid, but she's still psycho. But yeah, she shot him in the fucking head. He got bit. He's not turning or anything. He's just like, what do I do? And Albert's like, I'll help him. You know I can, and we'll do this. And da-da-da-da. They're sitting there talking, and she just goes, pow, and blows his fucking head off. And I was like, well, damn. There's that. The 2 Alberts and the daughters start to escape. Shit's blowing up and going crazy. Albert Wesker, that we've been following, sacrifices himself. We think. We never see a body, but he sets off a bomb that blows everything up. Bert and the girls get out. And the end of the show, we see them driving out of Umbrella, New Raccoon City. We also see the Tyrant for a minute. It's in this tank. I think the Tyrant is probably original Albert Wesker, if I had to guess. That's all. We get to see it for a second, like banging on a thing, and then at the end of the show, there's some rubble, and we see its hand pop out. That's all we get of the Tyrant. In the future, more stuff is happening that's a bit more interesting. They have their little parlay. We find out that that woman, who the big executive lady, she's being actually controlled by Billy's character, but they're all just fucking evil.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she's like
This
literally
is so
being
much
controlled with
information.
an iPad.
Is
Like-
this why she's so horny all the time in that scene?
Like well, in the past she wasn't, but at some point in time Billy took over. When Jade's character walks in to like give herself up, this woman's sitting there like this, and then she pops up and starts singing like a pop song, and you're like, what in the fuck is going on? And she's dancing around and doing like choreography like she's Britney Spears or something. Billy comes in with an iPad and she's like, haha, you like that? She controls everything with this thing. She's a fucking iPad from hell. But Jade, of course, she has the pheromone thing and she throws it down and she's like, oh, you fucked up now. And then 5 billion zombies come running from the hills, literally, and attack this place and just kill everybody. That part was entertaining enough. Stuff was happening. People were dying. It was bloody. It all looked good. We find out what they're dragging behind them. Apparently a giant mutated alligator, which is from the game. I'll give them that. Giant, like as big as this tanker ship. Giant alligator. And they got this thing in its head. That's what the button is. It sparks it to life or whatever. And it's drawn to that pheromone. So it comes on the shore. And it does look cool. And I like the design of it. How it's almost like two alligators put together and then just barely off, like a living 3D image, if you will. Like when it opens its mouth, there's like a sliver of like another one's mouth, and it's got like two tails. It was a cool design, I thought. It's not too crazy out there, but it's definitely, you look at it and you're like, that's mutated. It comes on shore and killing people. Billy has her iPad MacGuffin, and she has drones with infinite ammo, apparently, just blowing away everything. They kill the big crocodile, and she gets away. We meet Jade's daughter, but she gets off, and then Billy shows back up and takes Jade's daughter from her and shoots Jade and leaves her for dead, but she's still alive. At the end of the show, it shows her like getting up all strong, and she's like looking off into the distance where the helicopter went, like, I'm gonna go fuck you up. And that's where it ends. I'm trying to think, that's more or less what happened. Those 3 episodes had more shit happening than all 5 of the episodes that came before it. Like the whole show leading up to there. The 6th episode, it probably could have been shortened up a bit, but I was entertained enough. But these last 3 episodes, absolutely, and I am 100% with you, and I hate when shows do that. All the boring stuff and throwing it at you first and getting it out of the way, and then hitting you with the exciting stuff. My question is, why the fuck do we have to have the boring stuff to begin with? Write better characters, better shows, better stories. If you have boring shit, cut it the fuck out.
So what you're saying is we need more clone Weskers in the series and explosions.
Okay, the things I didn't like. The show is still not great, because even though these last 3 episodes pick up and at least become more entertaining, I didn't necessarily say great, but entertaining, things are happening, you still have 5 episodes that came before it that are boring as fuck and nothing's happening. You know, that's not okay. That still is a hit. Against this show as a whole, it's still not great. It's far from great. Did those last 3 episodes redeem it? No. If I was going to give it a rating, whatever rating I would give it, those last 3 episodes may have brought the rating up 1 mark. But that's it. Because everything that's happening is also just things happening. We went from nothing happening to shit's happening. Now, a lot of the shit is just that. It's just shit. It's just shit happening. It's entertaining enough, especially compared to where it came from, but it's still just shit. It's still just a bunch of stuff happening on screen. And this whole shootout that happens in the end of the show that I was talking about with the 5 billion zombies goes on forever. It never gets full on boring, but it is kind of like, I feel like this is going on so long because this is an hour-long episode, and they just need to make it happen. Because these fucking drones, they have God mode and unlimited ammo on. They just shoot these chain guns for the longest. It keeps on going back to them. It's like they're still shooting them. They're still going. That could have all been trimmed up for sure. 2 of those episodes could have been condensed into 1. I will say that they are definitely better than the first 5. Is it worth going through those first 5 to get to these last ones? No, with the exception of 1 scene. But no, it is not. It's just not. The show as a whole is still kind of just whatever. And by the end, I'm not compelled to watch season 2. I could give a fuck what happens to this little girl or the mom or the sister. I don't care. I still do not care about these fucking characters. I mean, yeah, it was a bit more entertaining, but still not good. In the whole grand scheme of things, it is better, but it's still not great. It's still not good.
It doesn't sound that exciting to me. So I'm sorry.
It's not. That's why it doesn't sound that way, because it's not. Because I couldn't make it sound that way, because it's not exciting. It's still kind of sucks. I will say, at least, I gotta be honest, I was wrong when I said I don't see the show getting any better. It did. I will say it got better. But, you know, in school, if you got an F and you bring it up to a D, that's better, but it's still not good. And so that's where I stand with this. It went from an F to a D. If this were my rating scale, for those of you that watch my channel, this would definitely be a USA Up All Night. Am I going to call it an absolute total train wreck? It ain't far from it. Some parts of it definitely are, but overall, with all 8 episodes, check it out on USA Up All Night. At best. I mean, just know what you're getting into. And that's not just coming from a fan of Resident Evil, because I did some thinking, and I was like, I need to stop thinking of this from a fan's perspective and just say, this is a show. Just look at this as just its own thing, because that's what it is. It is not Resident Evil. Go into it that way, You're probably still not going to enjoy it, but you'll have a, I don't know, you won't be as disappointed possibly. All the things I didn't like about the previous 5 that we didn't like about it, none of that really changes. The only thing that changes is not as boring. The boring part, it's nowhere near as boring. It is more entertaining. Everything else still stands. Characters don't improve, nothing. Albert Wesker gets better, but he was already the best part of the show. So what I liked about it, all that still stands. I think it looks good. The show still has a lot of money on screen. It looks good. The effects are decent. Lance Reddick, best part of the show, and that only gets better. That is one of the only things I would say is worth watching, at least these last 3 episodes, is for what he does. There's a scene that I asked Nick to watch. In the beginning of episode 7, there's a scene that pops up in the the first 2 minutes, I think it is, of episode 7, where we find out that Wesker is cloned. And what happens in that scene, the person that shows up, I think was awesome because it was a reveal that we've all been waiting for. But it's not the reveal of, it's from a different franchise. I was really surprised. We finally get a character reveal from another franchise. This is a crossover. I didn't even fucking know it. And I thought it was going to be a totally different actor, but apparently we were all fucking wrong. But we get the reveal of this extremely popular character that I'm surprised Marvel put it in this, because this is a Sony deal, I think. And of course, I'm talking about Blade. Blade is revealed in the Resident Evil show. There's other things in that scene that pop up that are funny, but that right there, I understand why they dress this man this way. Okay, I do. This is OG Albert Wesker, by the way. I understand why they put him in this, because he's I don't get why all of a sudden they decided they want to get game accurate to this level right here, like all of a sudden right now. I mean, I just don't get why everything else has been pretty, like, you know, whatever, but now we're going to be game accurate in season 7 for one fucking character. Just Lance Reddick in that outfit and everything. First of all, they just went to the fucking Blade movie, the Wesley Snipes movie, and took that costume and put it on him. Now, the character of Wesker does wear, like, this long trench coat and all that in the games. And he has the sunglasses. That is all iconic Wesker, I suppose. But who the fuck, when they dressed him in this and he came on, maybe the people that the costume designers didn't think about it. Somebody, you're on a Resident Evil show, somebody had to have looked at that and said, he's Blade. He's just fucking Blade. And the hair, everything, he's fucking Blade. We can't do this. You got to change something. Take the hair off of him at least. This was the best laugh I have had in a while. I laughed my fucking ass off at this. And then what he does afterwards, I'm not going to show it. He starts, like, zipping around the room and everything and, like, doing kung fu to people. There's some people are about to break up in there. It's pretty.
It feels like a Funny or Die sketch. It really does.
Yeah. I really wish if he had just busted out a sword, I would have just been convinced they were trolling us at that point. Because he does start doing, like, this kung fu stuff and jumping around and, like, and doing that zippy thing that Wesker does. And I was just like, I just wish he had just popped out a sword for just a second. It would have been even better if he had just turned to somebody and said, some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill.
With Lance Reddick, it's still glorious. It's like, even though it's stupid and cheesy, it's like, this is what Lance Reddick needs to do. He needs to lean into his humor, because he's a very funny dude. Like, you ever watch that Funny or Die thing he did? The guy's funny as hell. Like, if you ever hear him do interviews, he is a funny dude. Like, legit.
And he does. I mean, just on him real quick before we get out of here. Yeah, the Blade thing was funny, but he legitimately gets a chance. The character of Bert is him just letting loose, and I've never seen him act that way in a movie. He's very like, hey, what's up, bro? What's going on? Hey, come on, guys. I'm your this. And he's got, like, this love of breadsticks at Olive Garden. There's a scene that he's, like, going ham on some breadsticks and, like, telling the lady, bring me some fucking breadsticks. And she's like, oh, you need to finish your thing first. He's like, you said it was an endless basket. That's not endless. This is my endless basket. They need their endless basket. And he's going off on this lady. She's like, you have to finish your basket first. And he's like, fuck it, fine. And he takes him out and throws him on the table and takes the basket and throws it at her. He's like, there you go. Give me my fucking breadsticks. Best part of the show is him. Just go and find some supercut that has all of Lance Redding's scenes from the Resident Evil show, and you'll be better off than just watching all episodes of this. But I know I'm a completionist. I like finishing things that I start and shows and all that. I guess there's this little bit of hope that it'll get better, and it did.
I'll get to it eventually.
You don't feel like you got to though. If you miss it, it's okay. It's okay. My explanation of it, and I'm no wordsmith, is probably more entertaining than the show as a whole. So don't feel like you got to get to it. So you're not missing anything. But I couldn't stop talking about it, and that Blade.